Looks like we're live, guys.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, hello everyone. Yep. Of course. Is Jeremy copping back in?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Had a bit of a domestic emergency for a while.
No problem. That happens.
All
So
good.
to the best of us. Hey, and back to Bottoms Up Perspective. And I think it's episode 8. And we're talking about dreams versus reality, right? So what does that mean, right? So it means a lot of things, right? A lot of us had childhood dreams that's been totally shattered because the reality
When
came
I
in.
click copy link, it actually came.
Unfortunately, Kevin, I think I know yours somehow.
Yeah.
Just like reading some of your posts yesterday.
Yeah. So let's start with that real quick. We have our special guest, Jake Shirk, and he's here in Kansas City. Him and I had coffee.
Wait a minute, I can't.
Time right before COVID-19, right? So I'm excited to hear what he has to say since he's in a human resource role and what he has to say about dreams and reality. Let's start with childhood dreams. Let's start with you, Jake, since you're our guest. So we're going to put you on the spot. So what's the childhood dream?
I'll be right back. I can't hear Kev.
Well, for me, I think that it was probably a little bit like everybody. I had the sports dream. Obviously, my sports dream was Derek Jeter. So I played middle infield when I was a kid. I wore number 2. I would practice the iconic Derek Jeter throw every chance that I could. And so that was the beginning of it. But outside of that, I ventured in a lot of different areas and had a lot of different things. And it wasn't really until I got into high school that my first, I think, like real dream of what I wanted to do for my life happened. And that was I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to get into journalism and do all of that. And so I had this really romantic idea of writing for a living and pursued that when I first went to school.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
How about you, Jeremy?
I think for most Singaporean boys growing up, as a young kid, you have that few dreams. Usually when you were young and you were asked to write a composition piece on what would you want to be in the future, what's your occupation, what would you like to grow up to do, the same usual things for me, policeman. I think for most Singaporean boys growing up, as a young kid, you have that same. I'm hearing myself. It's okay. I'm gonna go on. So policeman, pilot in a fighter jet, I don't know, rock star, singer, entertainment kind of thing.
Is that why in the last episode you said karaoke? Is that
that's the reality, you can't be a singer, so then you do it out in a karaoke room, right? So those are like much younger. And after you go along through with life, I came to a point after my national service. We have this military obligation, 2.5 years. After that, I was at like a crossroads because I didn't do well enough to get into any local university. Overseas universities was not going to be an option for me. Didn't have the resources to do so. Didn't want to put my parents on a strain financially. So I needed to make a choice on what I wanted to study or even like where to go to. So eventually, after my national service, I had a trip to Hong Kong, first time ever, paid my own ticket with some friends. And a friend introduced me a book on 10 immutable laws of marketing. I still remember that book. So I read the book on the plane and then I realized, hey, marketing's the thing for me. And I pursued that and didn't look back. But in between, there were a few other dreams that were realized or smashed along the way. But I'll keep that for later. I'll leave some time for Aldric.
Nah, if you give me the airtime, you're not gonna get it back.
No problem. Go ahead.
I think the kind of childhood dreams that I have is still pretty consistent with the mindset that I have today. So it's always about being able to come up on top in somewhere, somehow, some aspects of my life. It could be academically, it could be sports, or it could be physical activity. I think when I was very young, I think it's gonna be slightly different from the way some of you actually say it. I was very infatuated with by marathons and Ironman triathlons, which are extreme sports, and I've been very fascinated by the way in which Ironman triathletes can actually run a 2-hour 40 marathon after a 6-hour day exercising. So that's the kind of thing that really caught my attention, like real extreme cases of what human capacity and capability can go to. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about. And when I was in my secondary school, I think for the audience in US, like middle school, pre-high school days, when I was in my physics Olympiads class, all I wanted to do is to kill off everybody and come out on top. So it's really something like that. That's the kind of dreams that I have. I think it evolved, but the mindset is still the same. Like when I watch the Avengers, I can resonate with what Thanos is doing. I love it. If you are
killing half the population.
Yeah, you can't resonate with Thanos, man. That's like the one you can't resonate with.
You know, guys, that's
So Aldric's gonna destroy all of us and take over.
yeah. So the
Snap a
point
finger,
is
we're gonna
it's not
disappear.
about the point is not about judging what goals he has and whether this is a social thing, an ethics thing, or whatsoever, but just peel that layer of the onion aside and look at how super focused he is in his goals. It takes the entire galaxy to stop him. Wouldn't that be beautiful? If you have that confidence in yourself and that everyone that you know is trying to stop you and you just do it. I think that's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying destroy and kill off half the population. I'm just saying like guys, he spent many years, or many light years, just one thing, to snap his fingers. That's all he wants to do. It takes him so long, and he did it.
My man just on a bright side to Thanos.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
They're gonna ruin it for him when
he just wanted one to snap his fingers and two collect some marbles, right? That's all.
Marbles.
Marbles.
He lost his marbles, man. He lost his marbles before he collected it, man.
Well,
how about you, Timothy? We're just talking about childhood dreams.
I actually shared your dream of being in the NBA, although I didn't shave my head like Michael Jordan. I was actually not a Michael Jordan fan. I was a Knicks fan, so he was crushing my dreams every time.
So Patrick Ewing.
Yes. That was a painful childhood memory that will live forever.
and now they're just reminding you every Sunday.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I wanted to do that, and my mother kind of shook me out of that. She's like, you know how small of a chance you have to be in the NBA? I was like, all right, fine. I need to figure out another thing. But yeah, I wanted to be in the NBA too. I love basketball growing up.
Yep. So same here. So I'm sure if you read my posts, early 90s, right? So back in the days, it was Jordan rule, right? He was the guy. He was the man. And they didn't have Jeremy Lin back then. So, I thought, hey, this Asian boy can dream a little. Shave my head and got really tan. I think I purposely took off my clothes, and it dawned on me that you're Asian. You will never get black like them. But I tried really hard. Went outside. Always had my shirt off. And would play for hours because the darker I looked, the closer I would to be Mike, right? And then
get as dark as you want.
You'll never be Mike. Yeah. Yep. So play a lot of basketball growing up, and then it dawned on me that when I went to high school, kind of stopped growing. It's like I'm not gonna get any taller than this. So I think my dreams are starting to get shattered a little. So I was quick, but just never got the height, and just never got much playing time. Sat on the bench a lot. And that reality set in. So Michael Jordan wasn't quite the reality. So let's move to the next topic, right? It's the same topic, but my next question for everyone. Now that we talked a little about our childhood dreams, and it's great to have dreams, right? I want to ask you guys, what's your perspective on dreaming? And what I mean is, as a digital marketer, right, I come across a lot of Gen Zs, millennials even, that come and they have high hopes of becoming Gary Vaynerchuk or, someone that they see on social media who's an influencer and different things like that, which has nothing wrong with it, right? But with the way the internet is, Instagram, LinkedIn, I can say there's quite a bit of dreamers out there, right? Because a lot of time, just because we have influence on the internet, how does that translate to making a living? How does it translate to paying the bills or even survival? So what are your thoughts about dreaming when it comes to that perspective? Yeah. So I'll start. Let's go this way. Let's start with Jake and then Aldric, Tim, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think that's so I'm not a big fan of especially once we get past like the sports. I'm going to play in the NBA. I'm going to play in the NFL, NBA. I'm not a big fan of the idea of like dreams deferred. I really think that you can get there if you want to get there, no matter what it is. But it's going to take a struggle. When you talk about being successful on the internet or looking at those guys like Gary Vaynerchuk or anybody that is in that space now. They've been working to get in that space for 20 years. The biggest misnomer about all of the internet fame is that it happens overnight. It doesn't, at least for the ones that last. There might be somebody that explodes on a platform and all of a sudden gets a lot of followers, but what you see is the fall off of how you translate those followers into something that can be replicated and reproduced down the line. That's the biggest, I think, misstep with a lot of people when their dream involves social media. Is social media is an ever-changing platform, and regardless of which one it is, it's going to update very quickly. And if you're not able to update what you're doing, you're never going to be able to exist in that platform for a very long period of time. And so when you see people like Gary Vaynerchuk, he has just been able to continually update in that space. But what he's done is he's had his dream behind the curtain. He's used that space to drive what's happening back there. And the beautiful thing about what he's done, is which my point would be, is that if you're going to do it, you have to be completely invested in what you're doing. You have to believe it more than anybody else is going to believe it. You have to believe in yourself. And at some points, you have to be selfish about it. Gary Vaynerchuk runs an industry, but everything that he does is Gary Vaynerchuk. And he understands that that is what's going to push his business to new heights. And it's a little bit selfish. It's a little bit self-promotion, but I guarantee behind closed doors, he's pulling everybody up with him, and he's pulling that business up with him. He's just doing the things that he knows he needs to do to ever change and continue to grow on that type of platform. So in my big thing, I think for sure, keep your dream alive and believe in it more than anybody believes in it, but you're going to have to do double time. You're going to have to do the front end and the back end at the same time if you're ever going to make it happen.
Aldric.
I'm totally with you on that, Jake. Although if those thoughts ever come out of my mouth, it's going to be a lot more extreme and a lot more colorful.
Thanos. No.
Well, he's a respectable figure, at least in my words. I think when it comes to realizing dreams and having dreams in the first place, first thing, it's this generation. We are talking about, hey guys, you're a dreamer, right? But in the industrial age, all those industrialists that made it to the millionaire index. Of course, these days it's a billionaire index, right? You look at Andrew Carnegie, Napoleon Hill. They don't talk about dreams, but there's something in parallel. They talk about visualization. And in order for you to get there, you need to constantly visualize, constantly write it down, and then look at your writings, translate it into actions. So I think those are the kind of things that I'm more in tune with, which is, if you have a dream, right, do not keep it in your head. For some reason, articulate it, write it down, and stick it somewhere where you can look at every single day. Because when you do that, your attention drives your actions, and it will give you your results. I have very young mentees who aspires to be an entrepreneur, but 20 years of their education has taught them work-life balance, 9 to 6, lie low, live longer. And that's exactly the opposite direction of what an entrepreneur is, right? If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to understand there's no such thing as a work-life balance. You have to be totally in it. In Jake's words, totally invested. In my words, you have to be obsessed. If not, you will not make it. You have to be obsessed. Because if you're not gonna hit the 16, 17, 18 hours working day that is required for you to build your pipeline, which may not translate into sales, which might not be a contract, and you're gonna face a lot of rejections. If your skin is thin, that's it. Anyone on the streets is gonna blow you by, right? You have to continue to pursue the opportunity. So that's what I think. And go-getters, if you really want to realize your dream, you've got to do it, man. You got to do it. In fact, if you have a big dream and you're our audience, you should drop off from our live stream immediately and start doing what you need to do, because no amount of listening and reading is going to get you there. You got to pull the trigger. So that's what I think in terms of realizing dreams or visualization. Sorry, I'm old school, but I think that works.
That's good.
Great points there. Great points there. So, if I got the question correctly, dreams versus whatever platform you're on. I think for any sort of view or advice, I look at it slightly differently. I think we first need to define dreams, right? I think there are two types of dreams. One are dreams, and the other really is daydream. Maybe both are visualizing, right? But one is really visualizing something out of scope, and the other dream is really something you might think is probably achievable. It might be very tall, very high. What they say, dream big, right? So first of all, you need to look into yourself and differentiate, what is something you're daydreaming and what's really something you are dream to do. And if it's on different, say, social media platform, first you need to pick a platform, right? For me, I probably still haven't got it and still don't quite understand TikTok, because, in my daydream, if I want to be an influencer on TikTok, I at least have to be not tone deaf or have some moves in me, because that's primarily what it's based on. So really, you need to be practical and realize what your limitations are, or rather at least know what you're good at, know why you dream a certain dream on a certain digital platform, to be an influencer somewhere, before you dream big. So if my dream was to be, having the most followers on Instagram, I'm probably gonna fail. It's gonna be a daydream, right? I always say that, I don't have the looks, I don't have any form of, well, not to be offensive.
Jeremy, if you show some skin, I think.
Yeah, that's my next point, right? I don't have cleavage. I don't have cleavage, so I'm not ever gonna be big on Instagram, right? So it's gonna forever be a daydream. So I'm more practical. So I dream to well, in a way, live, breathe, and stick out a little bit more on LinkedIn. That's why I'm doing this, right? So I know why I'm doing what I'm doing on whatever platform. But totally agreed on what Jake and Aldric has said. In the digital space, you have to be there 24/7. There's no shortcut. So you want to dream all you like, you need to have a plan, or at least roughly know how to get there on any platform that you choose. But you need to put in the work. It's not something that pops up in your head and the next moment you're there. That's daydreaming. Okay, that's daydreaming. That's not dreaming. Dream big, yes, of course, but be practical and know why you're doing what you're doing on that certain digital platform, and put in more than double the work, right? In Aldric's terms, be obsessed. That's the only way you're gonna get there. Otherwise, you'll forever stay in a realm of daydream, or maybe even a nightmare, right? So that's my little input.
What about you, Tim?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the name of the topic we're talking about separates it perfectly, right? It's dreams versus reality. So a dream is a good thing to have, and I wrote a little cryptic post a week ago, and I said, if at least a few people don't think you're crazy, you're not trying hard enough. So it's okay to have like a good, nice sized dream where somebody's like, you can never achieve that, but then there's the versus reality part. The versus reality part is you then have to do what Aldric said. You have to put in the work to achieve that goal, and you have to be obsessed. Like, you can't not have the focus behind the dream and have everything just fall apart. If you have this big dream, then you have to also be willing to do the opposite side, which is the versus reality. You have to be willing to take that step and, put in a lot of sacrifice to make that dream a reality. And some people are going to think you're crazy, you're nuts. Like, if you ever hear Aldric talk, I'm sure he doesn't care, but some people think he's a little crazy, right? This guy's he's all work. Yeah, but he's also successful and is accomplished. And that's because he's obsessed. And it's because he's willing to do what others won't. So, it's a dreams versus reality thing. The topic is perfect. But you have to be willing to put in the work if you're going to have a big dream. That's my take on it.
That's good. I agree with all of you, man. I mean, I couldn't say it better. I think there's definitely a balance, right? I think a lot of folks dream, but then we also need to understand who we are as a person and what we're capable of. How much do you really want to invest in to make that dream come true? It's not really just, hey, if I want to become a social media influencer, right? You still have to put in the work. Example, I was just contacted this week, right? Someone did a bait and switch on me, right? And it was multi-level marketing. So, got on a call, thought they were wanting some type of marketing thing, maybe they'll hop on my show. But then it turns out to be multi-level marketing. And there's nothing wrong with multi-level marketing. I did my share of Arbonne. I even did, back in the days, Market America, different things like that. Made money doing it, if I was going to be honest. But it's a full-time gig. It's work. You can be successful at multi-level marketing if you invest in putting in the work. It's no different than me doing J29 Creative Group, right? You got to put in the hours. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. There's nothing that's going to get you rich, okay? Besides if you had rich parents or grandparents and they will you some money or they write you a check or something, right? Everything takes work, and I'm big on dreaming too. I have my dreams, but I also understand that, hey, what is Kevin Kwok capable of doing? And what am I willing to do to get to those dreams? And if I'm not willing to do some of these things, then that dream's going to be like Jeremey said, it's just a daydream, then I might as well just quit wasting time. So Jennifer, my wife, actually, she's down in the basement, and I thought she was watching our kids, but she wrote a question for us. She asked,
Really?
Oh, no.
she asked, okay, because we have Asians here. She goes, isn't it typically Americans are more about dreaming and Asians are more reality based? So since
Good one.
East and West, and she lives with me, so maybe I'm the reality guy. So I want to let you guys talk about it, since I get to talk to her at night.
So Asians, that's me and Aldric, right?
Yep. So we're getting a little racist here. Now, racial talk.
Nah, it's
I
fine.
think
It's fine.
Aldric, let me tackle that first. I think
Yeah, go ahead.
to a certain extent that is true, but it depends on who you're talking to. I think every kid, Asian or not, you grow up having dreams, but the reality part is our parents. They are the ones who are paying the bills and will stick that practical reality part into your head. Just like right now, the role's been reversed. My kids probably have their dreams, but I'm the one that goes, hey, you got to think about, where you're going to make your money because you're going to pay for me if I become a dependent later, right? So true to a certain extent. But I think really it's our Asian parents that tend to be more practical. And I think, for my generation, that tends to be more true because coming from, average middle class family, parents not so well educated, and they always want you to study hard so that you have a better life than them. I guess similarly, we want the same thing for our kids. So it depends from parent to parent. I would like to think that I will support my kids, whatever their dreams are, as long as it's not too way off, because need to look out for the reality for them, because they might still think that the world is all fluffy and nice. No, that's not the case. So we, as parents, Asian parents tend to be more practical and want to inject that piece into the dreams of our kids. Aldric, you agree?
I do. I'm a guy that's very big on perspectives because of the environment I am exposed to when I was very young. So my mom is exactly the way Jeremy mentioned, right? But my mom has so my mom is the youngest sister in her family. She has a second sister, and I'm very close with her second sister, which is my aunt, because she confuses me all the time when I was young. It's like if you have read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I have a rich aunt, poor mom, and I can totally resonate with that story because it's real. It's real. I'll be very curious. I will always ask my aunt, like, Aunt, what are you reading? He said, your mom reads bills. She pays. I read income statement. I read what people pay me. I was like, huh? Like, like a 8, 9-year-old kid, like, what the heck is that? I thought we live to pay bills, that kind of thing. So she will always confuse me, and I'll always be able to say, okay, so if someone is paying, that means someone is earning. And then it will be like, so shouldn't I be someone that's earning instead of someone that's paying? Things like that. And because my aunt is an entrepreneur, she brings me and her own son to her office every Saturday morning when she's doing what Jake is doing, like HR consulting. She interviews people for positions. She will get the 2 young guys to sit with her on the other side of the table, and we get to see how people actually interview for a job. So from young, I had that exposure, and it's life lessons. Like when she's done and she brings us out for McDonald's for an ice cream, she'll teach us like little lessons that sticks here. Like, boys, when you grow up, it's a choice. Do you want to be where I'm sitting, or do you want to be where they are sitting? What's your pick? So I think it's not so much the dreams and the reality thing. It's not so much of an Asian thing. Yes, I think by and large, most Asians, we are very focused on our bills, by and large. And that, like,
the good thing.
A little guy, don't tell me about how big your dreams are. This is the reality. These are the bills. Go work and pay them. So I grew up understanding that there is the standard way of living. And if I want to do something for myself, it would be standard way of living. And on top of that, committing the additional hours to do what I need to do. So that's the, I guess it's the environment. And I'm very blessed to have an aunt that is not of the standard mold. So that's my response to Jennifer's question.
Yeah. And I gotta chime in on here because I guess
you're in the middle.
Yeah, because I'm in the middle, right? So I moved to the U.S. when I was 6 from Hong Kong, and So my parents are definitely very much Asian mentality, Asian everything, right? So growing up, I live in a Caucasian-based environment. I grew up in Springfield, Missouri. We moved from California to Springfield, Missouri. Springfield, Missouri is not the most diverse place in the world. And back then, we're talking about in the 80s, it was even less diverse, right? I mean, their idea of Chinese food is chicken nuggets from like McDonald's with gravy on it. That's not Chinese food. So pretty much all my dreams are shot, right? So, hey, I want to be like Michael Jordan, play basketball. My parents would be like, oh, to be on the school team, you got to pay for these basketball shoes. And my mom's like, you're $60 shoes, you're wearing Walmart shoes, or, oh, you got to pay for the jerseys. Oh, you better just play outside. Why can't you just play with the neighborhood boys? Why do you need to join the team? Neighborhood boys is free, And then if I wanted to play, my mom's like, go sell something, go do something, make money. How much do you want? You want to go work at our Chinese restaurant? So my parents own Chinese restaurants. Crochet,
Yeah,
right?
I love your mom for the second part,
So we own Chinese restaurants. So they're like, oh, why don't you come work? And if you work, then you can go buy your shoes. It's always like, you got to do something to get something, right? And then I watch my friends who are Americans, and they just get, oh, they're going to Disney World during the summer. And my mom's would be like, oh, there's Branson. And back then, Branson wasn't like Branson now. Okay. You're talking about maybe renting a boat and going on the lake. Okay. And I was like, Mom, that's not Disney World. And then my mom's like, and my mom and dad's like, it's all about perspective. And I was like, I try every perspective. It's not Disney World. But that is the reality I grew up in, So, I had to sell enough basketball cards, I remember, when I was a kid, and I ripped some kids off, right? In order to get tickets to go to Disney World with my sister, who was 7 years older than me. And the only way I could do it, and she thought I couldn't do it, right? She goes, and because she was already in college, and she was telling me, well, if you want to come along, why don't you sell enough to get your own airline ticket or whatever? And I surprised her. I sold enough ball cards to go.
Wow.
But that's kind of, I think it is the Asian culture. Everything's very reality based. There's really no, they don't leave much room for dreaming. So my parents then, same thing, I wanted to be at first, I remember I was into fitness and sports. So I wanted to be a personal trainer in college, and my parents shot that down. There's no money in personal training. But it's funny, my parents, when they're talking to their friends, they're always telling, we're very open, to whatever you like, our kids like and everything. But the reality is, okay, why don't you do that after you get your bachelor degree, and then you can do whatever you want afterwards. But let's try, how about you want to go into medicine or maybe some kind of engineering, and that's kind of how I grew up. And I think, this is the mindset of a lot of Asians. They might say, oh, I'm okay with our kids doing whatever they like, and it's great to dream. But the reality is, in the back of their head, they might be thinking different, Yeah,
get your degree first.
And yeah, let's just get authentic here, right? Just like when I married Jennifer, And since we're just being honest, right? And she'll attest to this.
Don't
my mom's like,
trouble,
you can marry whoever you want, right? And then she ran into me while we were out on a shopping, and she didn't know we were dating. And by then I was already 29. I was not a kid, Most 29-year-old Americans can do whatever they want, And my mom's like, are you dating that girl? Are you with that girl that I ran into you guys? And I told her, yeah, I like her. I think, that's the one. And my mom's like, she keep asking me, oh, so do you not like Asian girls? And I was like, I just told you I like this girl. I thought we can like whoever we want. And it was very obvious she wasn't very open to the idea, and she was still trying to convince or tell herself, what's okay. And and nowadays, my father passed away, and then my mom, she's not doing very well. But of course, they felt a relationship throughout the years, her and Jen, and she knows Jen means well, and she absolutely loves Jennifer. But I thought, hey, that's just kind of the reality of Asian homes, right? So
what's it like? What's it like for the guys in the West?
Yeah, I want to chime in on that because I think there's something that there are some lines that cross here. So the one thing is that the realities. So like some of the realities that we were just talking about now. The realities were own a Chinese restaurant. That's owning a business. That's a reality versus a very different type of dream, right? Or you come over here and the reality is what you were saying is you're going to go get your degree first. Here's some of the differences, because I think economically based more so here in the United States. I grew up very poor with a lot of very poor people. The reality wasn't you're going to own a business. The reality wasn't you're going to go to college. Those were the dreams. The reality was you're going to work in the same job that your dad worked for 40 years. He's retired now, and your reality is you're going to bring money home to the family. So it's not you're going to go off and you're going to do these great things, or you're going to take over the business that your family had. It's you're going to go work at GM and make tires. Like that's going to be your life. And hopefully after 25 years, you get a really good pension and you could do the same thing with your kid. So that there's very different types of realities and dreams that we're talking about. And it's economically based. So there's a whole range of things. It's one of the great things about our country is we have this range of things that people have. There's a lot of people that have those dreams of playing sports, and a lot of times the reason that it happens is because they don't have anything else. So that could be a reality and a dream. But then there's the folks that for years and years and generations, they never thought about owning a business. They never thought about going to college. That doesn't make sense with what they need to do. They need money on their table now. So a big disconnect between maybe the immigrant mentality or what you guys were talking about with growing up with Asian parents versus maybe just some people that are economically frustrated.
That's good.
It's a great perspective. Yeah. Really.
And I think it's true too. I think, I didn't grow up in like a wealthy family, even though we had a restaurant, in all reality, I think my parents made enough as an immigrant to just put us through college. And that's all they care about is, how can we come to America? I think my dad maybe had $1,000 or less, right, when he got here, because they spent it all during immigration. And when they got here, they worked at, my dad was doing well. And Jeremey and Aldric, you guys probably understand, he was a taxi driver in Hong Kong, And back then you can buy a taxi and do actually fairly well in the 80s. It's not like taxi drivers in the US, right? So he left that in order to dream, because in America, he thought, everything's bigger here, right? So he wanted the kids to come here, go to college, live in a bigger home and car. But the reality is we came out here and my dad worked for my uncle at a Chinese restaurant. And, it was just a fast food Chinese restaurant and he made minimum wage. And it took years in order to save up. And then he opened up his little drive-through window. And I honestly think my father just made enough to put in a little mortgage for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home,
Hey,
But I
Kevin,
think,
Kevin, but maybe your dad dreamed big for you guys.
yep,
Yeah.
yep, and I believe that, and that's kind of I think the immigration mindset. A lot of immigrants, when you didn't go to college, or most Asians in the 70s or 60s, a lot of them are honestly elementary, junior high, and maybe high school graduates. That not all of them are very educated. So when they come out here, there's not much options, but to work in a restaurant. But they can't even communicate. They don't know a lick of English. So, they learn something they can do, a Chinese restaurant, and their dream is to just open one. And it makes them enough money, better than minimum wage, working for someone else. And I think that's how a lot of immigrants are. They come to the U.S. and they just work, and that's why they become entrepreneurs. Because if they don't become entrepreneurs, they might mow lawns forever, or they might work at a fast food restaurant forever, or Walmart. There's not much options when you don't have a degree. And I think that goes into our next question.
Let's hear
Yep.
from Tim first.
Yep.
Tim, you wanted to talk about
Yeah, so on this, I would say the big cultural difference that I see, and my parents were also very disciplined. I'm Puerto Rican by descent, DeJesus, but my parents were also very disciplined. And I can relate to you guys with the Asian culture, and like, hey, you need to do something to get something. I relate to that. That being said, I think the big disconnect I see, like your traditional American family, is they kind of want to, there's a lot more flash to it. And I think with your, Asian, or maybe like you said, immigrant mentality, wherever you come from, I think it's less flash. It's more put the money in the bank account, save to get your goal accomplished. And in a lot of typical American society, it's about the Mercedes Benz, it's about the big house, it's about the flash, and it's less about retirement and goals and long-term thinking. And that's kind of the disconnect. If we're talking about a cultural difference, that's kind of the disconnect that I see in a lot of what we talk about with dreams versus reality. A lot of people want the nice stuff, but it's, to me, it's better to you have money in the bank account and then get the nice stuff versus get the nice stuff and not have anything in your checking account. So,
or taking loans on credit.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about cultural difference, I think that's what I see when we're talking dream versus reality.
And I think this is great because it leads into the whole reality perspective, right? That's kind of our next question. I think it's so true. In other countries, Brooke brought up a point. Freedom from a boss is all immigrants' dream, and in America, it's much easier to do than anywhere else in the world. And I am so thankful for that, and I have a lot of gratitude. I get to come out here, where my parents had hardly anything, and build a little business, put me through college, so that I have the opportunity to get a professional job. And then I have a career and built it, and now I own my own business, right? And it's true because a lot of other country, like example, I was just in Cambodia right before COVID-19 for business. And the reality there is very different than the reality here. Their idea of poor is not the idea of poor here, right? Really, the government's not there to help you. There's no handouts. There's no, especially during this time, right? We talk about a lot of things like, during this pandemic, look at America, right? Yeah, the money comes from somewhere, but a lot of government's not going to give you a PPP or a EIDL and all these funds to help you out. It's like, too bad, you're going to shut your doors. Okay. Figure it out, and all we do is complain. Right. And I just want to be honest, and it's like no other, country, they can care less, and I saw it with my own eyes when I traveled to other countries, and I grew up in another country, and that's just the reality. And we need to be thankful for what we have. The opportunities here, and a lot of even Americans, right? We can become an influencer at 19 and 20 and make six figures easy here, right? If we know how to use the internet, how we put ourselves out there, start businesses. But the reality is we talk like it's so easy, right? Because we're only talking from an American perspective, right? Go tell a Cambodian boy who's 19 to go make six figures. Good luck.
Point.
Okay.
Point.
He does, a lot of them don't even have the internet. They live in dirt floors. Same thing. I have a team in the Philippines, and some of them, $1 to $2 a day is a lot. The US. Okay. Go tell that boy, hey, it's really easy to hop on Instagram, learn social media on YouTube and blah, 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 grow a business. It's not the reality, folks, And so I think this leads to that next conversation. When does reality set in? And how do people need to realize that your reality might not be everyone else's reality? Let's go, Jake.
Oh man, reality sets in so many times. It's hard to say that it's one time. I mean, maybe that's my experience. So like, not to deep dive everything I've been through, but I'm somebody who has tried and lost everything multiple times. I've put everything I've had into things.
Well done, Jake.
I appreciate it. Thank you. That's
No, seriously. Well done.
Yeah. So I mean, it's those are definitely realities where you see that you have to put things on hold to eat. You have to put things on hold to make sure that you have a house over your head, to make sure that your relationships are stable, and that you're not completely on your own. Because again, another reality is you're never going to make it on your own. As much as you want to be selfish and drive and do things yourself and build your own business, if you don't have people behind you that are supporting you and that are keeping your mental health where it needs to be, it's not going to work. So I think for me that has been a big reality when you're fighting for something, but you're fighting for it by yourself. It's really hard to do. So building those relationships, which is something I learned very late in my life. I'm still kind of learning it, that making sure that you're building those relationships across the board, and more than anything, being a pleasure to work with and being a pleasure to be around is so important with everything that you're going to do, because it's going to follow you wherever you go. And you see it happen with people that lead toxic cultures. It follows them wherever they go. And people that lead exceptional cultures, it follows them wherever they go. And so for me, the biggest thing about reality is that make sure that the people around you are taken care of, whether that's a phone call, a text, or anything like that, to make sure that you're building those relationships and that further down the road, you have somebody you can call, because very well it might fall out underneath you. And if you have those connections and if you have those relationships that are quality, you're never going to be on your own moving forward.
That's good.
Great sharing. Tim, you want to go first? Oh, let's have team speak. Team?
Oh, sure.
All right. So for me, what I would say, and somebody put up a post about this, I think it was either yesterday or today. Reality goes like this. Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And Mike Tyson said that. And
that's good.
And honestly, that's life. If you want to talk about reality, that's life, right? And to Jake's point, right? I think if you haven't experienced the stuff he was talking about, which is you try something and you fail miserably, right? And you didn't try. You really actually didn't try, because sometimes you have to have that experience in life to realize, hey, maybe I need to go in with some kind of plan and then have a plan B in case plan A doesn't come to fruition. Because unfortunately, that's how life works. You know what I mean? Anybody who's in the midst of COVID-19, there's a good percentage of people that it's affected. There's very few people that have a remote job, and the remote job is unaffected, and they just moved on, and life is, status quo. So when it comes to reality, it really boils down to, okay, you have to be nimble on your feet. You have to be able to say, okay, this didn't work. What do I do now? Instead of like sulking and being like, shit, this is so hard. Oh man, I failed. Oh, this is my life. I can't stand it. Like, that never works. So yeah, we all lose sometimes. We all have shit hit us in the face that we don't expect. And at the end of the day, you got to be able to persevere and react and think on your feet and be like, you know what? Okay, that didn't work. Big deal. Let me try something else. And it doesn't mean you're a failure. I mean, because something didn't work, that doesn't make you a failure in life.
100%.
Yeah, we've all failed at something. If you haven't failed at something, then you are not taking enough risk in your life. And
You haven't lived long enough.
yeah. So I mean, I like, we all applaud you, Jake, for your honesty on that. But I appreciate, really, like, that's reality. That's reality at its core, right? We've all had that experience, and like I said, if you haven't, you either are not being honest about it, or you haven't tried hard enough, and that's kind of it. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to, whenever life hits you, and it's going to hit you in some way or another, just say, okay, that happened, big deal, what's next? That's my take on reality.
And I just want to read something from the audience real fast. Garrett Herschel said, reality is objective. Our perception of this is subjective. Self-awareness is key to recognizing where reality lies. Yeah. And I think that's really good. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great sharing. To me, I think I'm just going to throw it out there. Reality, equals life. That's life. That's what life is. And if you equate reality as life, then you realize that sometimes you need to get on with life before you can dream, right? I think with the current virus situation, I mean, taking inspiration from what Jake spoke about earlier, really with the virus situation, life hits you in the face more than ever. You can dream to be a airplane pilot, right? Commercial airline, dream all you want. It's not going to recover anytime soon, right? Aviation. So really, reality is life, and you need to get your life in order first before you can dream, right? And your dream will scale depending on the current situation. If you can't put food on the table, you're never going to dream, because your dream is to be able to eat tomorrow. That's your dream, because life has to go first. And whatever you said, team, failing in life before you can dream. Oh, definitely have my share of that. Just quick story, right? In college, I've always dreamed to be a singer. So in college, I joined a 6-guy a cappella group. I can't read notes for nuts. I cannot read notes. And the other five guys are in the school choir. So imagine I'm the odd one sticking out. The only reason I got in, I can't even remember why they liked me, and I got in. So maybe I was too thick-skinned. So I tried. We did win the talent time, but there was a lot of hard work. It was just like, you just need to be good at one song, and lots of hard work, because a lot of times I would go to rehearsals and I'll try and sing something, and the training guy, in our group will go like, Jeremy, you're too high. No, that was too low, and I could not tell the difference. Till today, I still can't tell the difference whether I'm too high or too low. So you need to put in a lot of work, but the reality has taught me that yes, we did win at that singing competition, because maybe the rest of competition sucks, or we just dressed well. I don't know. Or the five of us carried. Yeah, or the five of them carried me on their shoulders. So we went by, but I know I'm never gonna make it. To sing professionally, because I can't read notes, and I'm tone deaf. That was the point. I was tone deaf. So I do my singing now in enclosed room. So that's life for me. That's reality for me. I dream, but yeah, I tried it. I failed. So I just have to move on, go on with life. I'm never going to be a singer professionally, right?
So you mentioned it a lot, man. I feel like
I think there's some dreams going on here.
Yeah, man. I think maybe get a voice coach. It might be
our audience. Michael asked if he wants to hear you sing.
come and join me in a karaoke sometime, right? So my dream is still there, but I just do it differently, right? The reality is now I live my dream in a room and close space to people who are dear enough to, want to hurt their ears to hear me sing. So
By the
yeah.
way, Jeremy, with this StreamYard broadcast, okay, just to let you know, there's a functionality where I can actually share the screen and we can put Chinese karaoke on there where the lyrics show up. So we can have a virtual karaoke experience for the audience. So we can plan that for next episode.
Yeah. When we have like 5,000,
that's it. Keep it
where we have
simple, right?
5,000 viewers live, okay?
Hey, be careful what you ask for. I'm a digital marketer.
You can make anything happen.
Yeah, so back to point, right? Really, I think we need to look at life first. If that gets in the way, dream's gonna be hard. So that's my little take on it. I think Aldric, you want to give your share, Thanos?
Yes, and I'm going to agree and disagree with all of you, as you know, right? So first,
Bring it home.
I just want to
Aldric
elaborate on
ever the
what
contrary.
Tim spoke about, which is on failing. And in principle, if you decide that you are going to depart from the standard narrative, you're going to fail. You will. And the point is this: when you fail, you learn a hell of a lot. So if you think that you're going to fail fast, fail today, fail a lot. Why? Because you're going to fail your way to success. You're going to learn so much along the way. No one will ever understand. Because we are living in a human society. And that's a fact. No amount of books that you read or the articles that you come across is going to give you that much of life experience and the richness that you're going to have. That street knowledge. I believe in failing. Fail it. Just fail it. Right? You got nothing to lose. Literally, except for time. Right? But you're going to reap a lot of returns in your future time and your effort in terms of what you do. Now, in terms of reality, yes, we look at the environment around us and we say, that's the environment, that's the cards that have been dealt with. But hey, the point is this, there's all these gurus that talk about goal setting and things like that. I'll just strip it down to the essence. The point is, you have a dream, you have a vision, you have an ambition, right? This is your reality. You want to reach here. The best way to think about it, mindset-wise, is challenge and force your reality of today to match the reality of your ambitions. Challenge and force the reality that you have today to match your ambitions in the future, which means you pull forward your future successful self and you behave in that way. You want to be an entrepreneur? Right. Look at all the successful entrepreneurs today. Charlie Munger's 95. He's working. Warren Buffett's 90. He had a 6-hour shareholder annual report meeting. Bill Gates still working. He doesn't need to work anymore. He's still working. Jeff Bezos, he's still working. Doesn't need to work anymore. He still works. I think Mark Cuban's 61. Right? So challenge your current day reality and force it to meet the reality of your ambitions. This is how you bring your control back to yourself and not be subjected to acquiescence to the environment around us. You say, the environment doesn't support what I want to do. Maybe I should just do what most people are doing. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Because the moment you give control to the environment, you become part of the environment. There's you don't exist anymore. You're just one of the many around there, right? Then the next thing, it was on the previous topic, which on expectations. If your parents and the people around you have very high expectations of you, you're going to be very tired just meeting their expectations because it's an energy equation, right? Always ask directly, Mom, Dad, what are your expectations? Seriously, like what are your expectations? Is it just do you want like straight A's and then look at the rules of the game? How much do you need to get your A? Is it 70? If it is, work very hard to just score 71, 72, and you can do it even when you're asleep. You know, like when you take an exam when you're asleep, right? You can score that score. You meet the expectations, right? You are going to have that breathing room to do what you need to do. That's the reality that you need to construct for yourself, and not to say, oh, my mom wants me to be a scholar. I'm so tired of studying, and there's no energy for me to do anything else. If that's the case, my point to all the viewers and to all of us is that you will never learn how to live a fulfilling life, a life that you want to, and a life that you deserve, because you have always been meeting other people's expectations. What if these people go away?
That's really good.
What if they go away? What are you going to do? What are you going to tell your kids? What are you going to tell your mentees? Right? When people look up to you and they think that you are a strong person, but deep down, if they realize who you are at your core, you have nothing, and everything is all about meeting other people's expectations. Can you imagine the kind of cascading effect that you have, especially when you're an influencer? I can't imagine. I can't. So to Jake's point on being influencers of Gary Vaynerchuk and things like that, learn his work ethic. Now that guy has an insane work ethic. I mean, like, you know, understanding attention in 7 main platforms on social media. Man, that takes hell lot of effort. I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter, and I'm already dying.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'm trying. You know, like he's on 7.
Yeah.
He's on 7.
He has a
it's not
team
about-
too, though.
Yeah, it's not about what
Yeah,
he
but
says.
he still creates. I mean, he's still
He is.
creating video. He's still creating videos of
Yeah.
himself.
It's about what he does.
Yeah.
It's about what
Yep.
he does. And
Absolutely.
what's the point of parroting his lessons? I don't see the point. You need to have yours. So at the end of the day, it's really, if there's really one thing that I want to re-emphasize is that look at your reality today and look at your future ambition.
That's
Force
good.
your current reality to match that. So bring your future forward. Act as if you are in the future. Then you will really, really understand, man, this is the effort that I'm going to put in to get there. That's what I think. That's the reality that I think.
If you will it,
It might not be a real one.
And I think, you know, that's a good point too. When we're talking about reality, we forget, since we brought up Gary, right? It took him close to 30 years before you ever even heard from him, right? He was never on the internet. People forget that part. So a lot of famous people, we just hear the now, right? We don't see how much they work towards, or how many bankruptcies they have, how much failures they had before they got there, right? I mean, Gary wasn't around back in the early 90s for a while, you know, because he was building Wine Library and doing the YouTube stuff. And it took, I think he said, like 300 some episodes before someone even pay attention to it, you know, kind of like our show, right? You know, it might be 10 viewers or 11, you know, but who knows? Maybe, you know, 30 years from now, you know, Aldric,
we are 300 episodes away.
Yeah, where Aldric's already famous,
289,
right?
bro, 289.
You know, so
Aldric needs to put his Cash App up after that talk. You can get paid for what you just said, man.
that's true.
Yeah,
Then,
I think
Time
that's
and
true.
it takes effort. And on my day-to-day, in terms of hitting my ambitions and challenging my reality to meet the future, I'm in a rush every day. But I'm patient when it comes to the results, because you never know when the results is going to come. So to me, I live in a very confused spectrum every day. It's like, I know that when it comes to work, it's now. Today is today. Tomorrow is a luxury, right? So it's now. But the results come. When it comes, I just enjoy it. That's how I think. I don't look for the results. I think there's a lot of influencers out there who look at the results and think that they can do it without the effort.
So
I don't believe it.
yeah, I want to talk about that, and so there's something that I learned when I was working for a Fortune 100 company, Credit Acceptance, and it's called achievement motivation, and it's something that they look for in every one of their employees. And the achievement motivation is not that I'm going to get money. It's that I want to win. It's that I want to be the best at something. And if I'm the best at something, then the money will follow. And that's something that, you know, I innately had that, and they kind of brought it to the forefront for me. And I was like, wow, that's so powerful.
That's good.
Because, you know, I didn't realize, like, I that's always been my mentality too. It's like, look, I just want to do something and I want to be awesome at it. And if I'm awesome at it, everything else will take care of itself. If I'm really good, and let's talk about personal branding, right? If you're awesome at personal branding, a following is going to happen organically. You don't need to do let's connect posts and all this bullshit, right? Because at the end
I
of the
knew you
day,
were gonna say that, Tim.
I wasn't trying to take it there, but I'm just like relating it to right now, right? But if you're good at branding yourself, a following will happen organically. People will flock to you. You know what I mean? They'll come to you because they're like, you're good. Like, okay, I know who he is and what he talks about. So I want to follow this guy. That's the beauty of Gary Vaynerchuk. You know what I mean? And we talked about him, I don't know, this is like the 5th time, right? That's how powerful this dude is. I don't even follow him. I don't pay attention to him. But I know the name, just like all of you. And that's because he's good at branding, right? So with that branding, people know and hear about you. And again, the money follows. So that's just my 2 cents on, literally my 2 cents, because I'm not Gary Vaynerchuk.
But hey, everyone can learn from someone, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be Gary, you know. It's all about, you know, our experiences and just being authentic. And, you know, and I really think when it comes to reality, we go through seasons, right? Our realities change and everyone's perspective's different. And it's very hard to tell someone this is your reality, right? I remember when I didn't have kids, it was a different reality. When I got married, you know, when my kids was 2, different reality. And now 6 and 7, different reality. And one day I could be an entrepreneur and doing well. And tomorrow I could be a janitor, you know, for Timothy, you know, who knows, you know. And I think a lot of time people forget that. Mm-hmm. Let that sink in for a minute. That is reality called life. And if you don't live long enough, you don't experience that. I remember when I owned a very successful business for a while, and then I lost everything. I had bankruptcy. I lost everything. You know, the next day, you know, I was depressed. I wasn't happy. I had this big house. I locked myself in there, and every bill collector started calling me after a week, you know. And guess what? The reality sinked in. And then after a while, I had a restaurant and bar at the time, right? And it was easily doing, you know, pulling in probably $1 million in business, you know, transactions. Not that I kept $1 million, but in and out of the restaurant and bar, right? And then I lost it all, right? And my father had cancer. It's something I did with him. And when cancer happened, it happened so fast, I wasn't prepared. But reality sunk in, and it took me 2 weeks of being depressed before I had to say, hey, there's no more pride. And guess what? I used to own a restaurant bar that was doing a lot of business in the college scene, right? I had to go bartend, you know, and it was very hard. I was in the magazines with some of these owners of the bars, and now I have to go ask them for a job, you know. But guess what? I can't pay my bills. And reality's going to sink in. And we have to remember that you're never too good for anyone. And for all you entrepreneurs out there feeling really good about yourself right now, and you're making good money, you're driving a Mercedes, you got a nice house, let me break it down to you. That can change. Mm-hmm. COVID-19 might not be touching you right now, but something could happen that changes everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's going to force your perspective to change. And it's something called life. And I hope that would never happen, you know, fingers crossed, but that's reality. So you're never too good for anyone. And I hate it when people are just, oh, I don't have time for this person, or, oh, you know, my coffee's going to cost $100 an hour, or great, your time's valuable. I understand that, but there's no need to be rude to people. There's no need to not be nice. You know, at the end of the day, what goes around comes around, you know, and you got to have humility, man. If you live long enough, you never know, man, what's going to happen tomorrow. And that's the best piece of advice I think I can give you is just be careful. You know, what you say, what you do on the internet stays with you. And Jake can probably attest to that because he's an HR guy, you know. So, I mean, you never know when you need a job, you know, and a lot of people, you don't make a lot of friends out there. People don't like you. You don't build solid relationship during the good times. Dude, I hope you don't go through the bad times because those people are more valuable than money because that's the people that are going to give you referrals. Those are the people that may hire you, you know. Who knows? If I'm mean to Aldric and I have to move to Singapore one day, he probably won't help me with a job. You know, and that's just the reality. So I think the next one is really good. Is I know we're going a little longer, but I think we're on the ball here, and people are staying on, and we actually have more people that just hop on. But when it comes to so how do you make your dreams become reality? And this is what we'll end with tonight.
So, who do you want to start? Should we start with Aldric?
Yeah, we can start with Aldric.
Oh man!
I mean, who still have dreams here? Who still have dreams here, right?
I'm gonna call Aldric the dream shatterer, man. He's like.
I can share a little side story. I have I mean in different occasions, but I do have like a few mentees asking like how can they actually start a business, you know, like the very in principle questions, but you know that there hasn't been much thought in it, right? And I asked like, do you have the capabilities to actually do that? Then they were telling me, I know nothing about the business. I don't have money. I have no access to loans. I don't know how to do an elevator page. I don't know what's a proposal. I don't know how to meet people. And I don't want to do digital marketing on social media. So my advice to them is very simple.
Get a job.
Yeah.
You don't. If you have literally nothing in terms of skills, network, life experience, I'm not even talking about cash. If you have none of that, get a job first. Get a job first. You know, if you have to do a 9 to 6, do a 9 to 6. And then, true to my nature, 6 to 12, build your side. Build a side business. That's the way to do it. You don't want your lack of experience to crush you. You need to have something. So for everyone who has that dreams, you have your eyes for the stars, but you know full well that you have nothing, then don't. It's very simple. Don't.
Amen.
Get your life experience. Go tough it out. Even if you do not know how to get your contacts or your network and things like that, you know, just mingle around your colleagues, different shifts or different offers or different teams will give you a very good perspective of how people actually interact with you. You're gonna learn a hell lot more, right? And then build it on the side. So as I always tell them, I say, man, you're looking for 9 to 6, you're talking to the wrong person. I'll tell you, you need a 9 to 12. You need a 9 to 12. You need a 9 to 6 in your job, and you need a 6 to 12 to build your site. That's how you build your reality from zero. My point.
So I want to go. I want to go right after Aldric because I can still relate to this. No, I mean, I'm going to tell you all my personal story, and it's so true, right? So, you know, I worked for people. Now I'm an entrepreneur, but I worked for people for 15 years, right? And I started at the bottom as a salesperson, and then I got a management position. And then from a management position, I moved up in the management ranks, and I kept moving up. until the point I was running an entire business for someone else. But the reason I was able to continue moving up, and if you look at my history, it was quickly. It was because even though I started at the bottom as a salesperson, I learned what the managers were doing. I paid attention to everything they were doing. I took it in so I could say, okay, well, if I was to ever be a manager, what does that look like? So when it came time that I applied for a management position, even though I was only a salesperson, I already had the experience because I paid attention to what those guys were doing. And then when it was time to take the next step in my career, I paid attention to what my general manager, my boss, was doing. So I could say, okay, I can prepare myself mentally for that. Now, when it came time to start going on my own, like Aldric was talking about, I was running a business and building a following on LinkedIn at the same time. Like he said, working during the day, at night, building my own personal brand, right? So what he just said is so true. And when it comes to if your dream is to be an entrepreneur, your reality is that's an all day, everyday job, period. That's it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And to be honest with you, sometimes you're going to make less as an entrepreneur initially than you would if you work for somebody else. That's cool as long as you know what your end game is and if you're comfortable with that. And if you're not comfortable making less as an entrepreneur initially, then stay working for somebody else. That's reality. That's the reality. If you don't want to make less as an entrepreneur initially and you have a high paying job, then stay there and be cool. But if you're not, then take the next step, but realize, hey, my reality might be, I may make a little bit less initially, but I have freedom. Nobody's telling me what to do. And I set my own schedule and I call the shots. And that's okay. But Aldric is so right. Take the steps to learn and build and then make that your reality. But just because you're working in some position, that doesn't mean that you are somebody. Just because you're a salesperson doesn't mean you can't be a leader. And that's what I used to tell my salespeople all the time. Just because you are a salesperson doesn't mean you can't be a leader amongst your peers. So don't think because you're a salesperson that I'm a salesperson and that's all I am. No, you can be more, you can do more, but you have to learn. You can't just pigeonhole yourself into this role. So that's my take on reality.
Good one. Jay, you want to go first, Jake?
Sure. Yeah. Again, I'm in probably a very different position than a lot of you all, where I work a pretty regular 9 to 5 at this point. And I'm kind of in the midst of trying to build a personal brand.
Cool.
But to put this in perspective, because even where I'm at right now, I get people kind of hitting me up and asking me questions about like what I'm doing to do this and do that. And to say that this is the first time I've tried it would be a complete lie. There's been so many levels of like trying to get here. The first time that I kind of lost everything, I literally moved back in with my parents, with my dad, and I got on top of roofs and I roofed businesses and houses for a summer. And while I was doing that, I was prospecting and trying to find jobs and doing all these things. And I got enough money where I could buy a car, and I drove myself out to Kansas City with $0 in my pocket. And I took a night job at the American Inn, which is not a great hotel in North Kansas City. And I was a night auditor for $13 an hour. And while I would work at night, I would go home and I would prospect some more for jobs that are more of what I wanted to do. And when I got that next job, I did the same thing. I would work during the day and I would stay up all night trying to find the job that I wanted more. 2 years later, I got that one. So I think that the reality is if you actually want to do it, and speaking from a perspective of, I have a lot of people come to me about jobs and how do I get this job? What do I need to do to my resume? How do I interview with this person? I have a podcast and I have a hashtag. It's called It's Complicated. It's because there's a lot that goes into it. And all of the people that are selling you that get rich quick or that get that job by fixing your resume in this way, or how to interview this one way to find the job that you want, it's all bullshit. It takes so much more than that. And there's a whole world of things that you have to do. And the biggest thing that I can tell you is it's about momentum. You have to be able to build this momentum, and you have to be able to keep it going regardless of what steps in front of you. If all of the money goes away or whatever it might be, the last job that I had, I took a $30,000 pay cut to go to the job that I'm at now because I knew I could make that $30,000 in another way. So I didn't lose money because I have different income coming in. You know, I work for a public sector company. You can look online at what my paycheck says. It's readily available, but my W-2 doesn't say that. And so I was comfortable because I had been working and working and working to where I could get these different things coming in. I could go on to 20 different coupon sites and put 200 coupons up a day and make 25 cents a coupon. Like those types of things are things you don't learn overnight. It just takes a lot of time to get there. You got to build momentum. You just got to keep doing it.
That's so good.
I guess I'll go next. Try and bring things together. Thanks for telling us your story, Kevin. I think at some point in time, everyone's lost everything. I kind of had that reality as well. I was having a good time in China, worked there for about 9 years under the same boss, and overnight things changed. I'm not going to go into the details, but I had to come back to Singapore with my whole family and everything. After 9 years, coming back to Singapore, good thing was I had a place here, but I didn't have a job for more than a year. More than a year, I had no jobs. It was a golden handshake, but I keep seeing the money going down. I turned into a completely different person. I was depressed. And additionally, you think that, hey, I made it big in China, so to speak. I survived there for 9 years. Coming back here, getting a job should not be a problem. Getting a job with the same pay, but that's not the reality. And I can totally resonate with what Jake said, right? Dream job is easy to get. But during that period when I was jobless, I learned a lot of things. A lot of reality hit me. My network was in China, or at least I thought I had some network there. But back in Singapore, if I want to get a job for, Asia Pacific, for the region, doing marketing, I know no one, nobody. Okay, I don't have a boss where I work for in Singapore that could refer me to another job because my contacts were in China. So that hit me. Applying for jobs, everyone's looking for digital marketing, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I have, what I would say digital marketing skills, right? Build a website for the company in China, but that has been taken now because I lost my job. New guy came along, rip it apart, build a new site. I had nothing to show for. So why am I saying this? Because those were the reality that hit. And what I'm actually doing now on LinkedIn is precisely to compensate or overcompensate for that. My dream for LinkedIn was I saw another guy in the company who put in the hard work, much older than me. He, in fact, was my boss's boss till he left. And he was very inspirational to me. And I saw what he was doing on the retail side of things. He is an influencer. And I thought, hey, I can't be like him. But maybe my dream was to be sort of a industry guy for APAC. Retailers need help. So that was my dream. And how to reach that dream to get where I am. Luckily, that coincided with what I had to do on my personal side of things professionally, right? I mentioned about not having digital marketing skills to show for, not having the network, and all that came aligned when I thought, hey, I could do something to help retailers by being this, my alter ego, the new retail guy. But starting that was hard. Nobody knew me. For one, I can't say I know the industry very well. Retail is so different, so difficult, all over the place, right? And APAC is so huge, so diverse. So what do? I start from the ground. I start from the bottom, right? Whenever I have a business trip, I find a certain retail store that had a nice concept. I go and shoot a video. I had to learn video editing skills. I had to learn how to present. That's why you hear a lot of ums and ahs, because whenever I hit a certain location, that's the first time I'm there. I don't know what to say, So I started from the ground, but I picked up some skills along the way. What am I saying? All this is to answer that question, right? My dream is to circumvent all that from happening. If I lose my job again, at least there's something to show for. And in that process, I try to be the new retail guy, share what I know, and learn along the same way. Am I closer to my dream? Probably not. Very far-fetched. And this has been like 2 years in the working. And it's not easy to want to make your dreams, but at least I do have one simple dream, and I'm trying to make my way there. But you need to put in the time. I can't say I'm an expert on retail, but I read a lot on LinkedIn now. I switch Facebook for LinkedIn. But the good thing is it's getting me there, and it makes me better at my job, and I'm picking up new skills. I'm in the live chat for 8 8 times already. I've never done live before. It's always something that daunted me, but this is my 8th round. There's something new I tried this year, right? And recently I did a podcast. That's also the first one for me this year. Last year it was about making videos. That was the first for me last year. So I don't know what new things I'm going to try next year, but I need to push myself forward as long as it helps me reach my goal. So that's my answer. Yeah, I could probably go for hours, but I'm not going to do that.
No, but
just let me do 1 minute before you close, Kevin. Just piggybacking on what Jake and Timothy has mentioned. These days everyone is into this personal branding paradigm, and then there's social media and things like that. Just across the board, I'm just gonna tell everyone: look, if you want to put yourself in that position, right? If you want to put yourself in that position, and you think that personal branding is important and things like that, if you come to me, don't tell me you only want to do 1 post a week, 1 post a month, 1 post a day. It won't work, my friends. It won't. It's effort. And I'm going to tell you what I see that the big guys are doing. Mark Cuban posts 4 times a day. That's 1 platform. Grant Cardone posts 6 times a day. Those are the top dogs. I think Richard Branson posts 6 times a day. You really want to talk about effort, influencers, personal branding, man, look at what they're doing. They don't need to do it. They're doing it. So that's what I think, right? So if you want to be someone who is a personal branding guru or a social media influencer, you got to understand one thing. Having an online presence doesn't mean shit. You need online dominance. You need to give yourself every opportunity when people tap on that icon on your mobile app. When the post feed comes up, you have a chance that your post is the first one or within the first scroll. Otherwise, there's no chance. You want to do that once a week? You want to do that once a month? How many years do you want to spend just to get there? I don't know. I mean, that's my point. That's my perspective.
No, you're
back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, you're dead on. I just want to say one thing real quick too, for Jeremey. Jeremey, I think everything you've been doing these last 2 years, you're building a lot of skills, and you might be able to transition that into some other kind of different opportunity for yourself.
Hopefully.
You maybe haven't put it together in your head, but video editing skills are very valuable. You know what I mean?
Man, it's hard, man. It's really hard. Subtitling, I hate it. That's why you don't see that many videos.
Oh, trust me, I know. I've gotten a little bit more into it. It is a pain in the ass, I understand. But you are building a lot of skills, man. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of good stuff you do.
Thank you.
I think one of the points I want to end with and close, when it comes to making a dream a reality, I think we have to accept the fact that it's okay to go to the bottom. I think as humans, we have too much pride oftentimes. Mm-hmm. And it's like Aldric said, we care too much about how other people think. But if you are able to block the noise and not worry, I've been a car sales guy. I've been a fried chicken guy with a 4-year software engineering degree. I'm talking about this is after my degree, okay? I went to fried chicken for my uncle, okay? The fast food restaurant guy at the college I graduated at, wearing a stupid hat and going out there when I was like 28 years old. I was almost 30, guys, and going from making 6 figures to frying chicken. And my uncle, then, he paid me, what he could, I mean, it's crazy, to think about it. I sold cars. I worked for Enterprise. Let's be real here, okay? I worked for Enterprise Rent-A-Car after being an entrepreneur. Wore a dress shirt and tie, 90 degrees weather. They sell you on the idea you're a professional, but really you're washing cars out there, and then handing people keys. And then you have a line of professionals that, 10 of them I knew because I was in a small town where I was in magazines with them. And when I first started doing it, I tried to jump into the office in the back and try to hide because I was so embarrassed, and then reality sunk in. I was like, Kevin, why do you care what they think? The reality is right now, that's the only job that hired me. And for me to get back from point A to point B to be an entrepreneur again, this is what I got. Okay. It was right after the recession. It It was 2009, around that time, right? And guess what? With COVID-19 happening for some of the viewers, that might be your reality. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if those people look at you funny or, you know, look down on you, who cares? You know, they aren't paying your bills.
Yep.
Those guys aren't buying your food. They aren't paying your mortgage, you know. And guess what? Yeah, I started that, and one thing led to another. And because of my entrepreneur skills, I moved up very quickly at Enterprise and was able to go into the car sales division. Sold cars. And guess what? I learned so much during that time. And I recommend any professional go sell cars for a couple years. You're going to come back a much better salesman. Okay? Cars are not easy to sell. Okay? It's not like selling an 80,000 software. You know, go sell cars. It's not digital marketing or website. Okay? They can go buy cars anywhere. There's a lot of car salesmen in the US. Okay? It's highly competitive. You know? Go sell cars. It's going to make you a better salesman. Don't go sign up for a course. Go sell cars at your local dealership, you know, or talk to someone that sold cars, right? And so that's just the truth. And then guess what? One thing led to another. You know, I met someone, became a recruiter, recruited for a bit, you know. But guess what? Now I'm an entrepreneur. But it took like 10 years to get there, right? But the reality is all those skill sets I utilize every day today. The skill set of frying chicken at a restaurant, I use it today because I have very thick skin and I really don't care what other people think. Okay.
That's because you got hit with that hot grease.
Yeah, that's true. And then the line of people at Enterprise complaining about which car they want and having to multitask and answer phones. I use it today when customers are complaining about things aren't working for them, you know, and every single thing to get to your dream, the journey is what matters. Take your journey and be thankful about every moment of that journey because you're going to take something out of it. Instead of complaining and being upset while you're on this journey to get to your, you know, your dream, see what you can learn along the way and take it with you. And those are the things that's going to help make your dreams happen, you know? And I think that's so key, you know, be okay with where you're at now.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. I mean, I would say just to follow up on that, when people are criticizing you, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Right?
So good.
Who cares? Like seriously, if somebody's criticizing me for my dream or my vision, right? Who cares? It's like you said. Are you paying my bills? No. If I achieve my goal, right? Are you still gonna criticize? Probably. So who gives a shit? Criticize all you want. I like my life.
Tim, I'm gonna go as far as to say that if you are having haters, you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Amen.
Yeah,
I haven't got haters yet. I'm waiting for my haters.
Those are people that are trying to mimic you that can't.
Well, that's good.
Well, that's a good perspective, Jake.
That's a good one.
So,
you know, like haters, things like that. Just I just think that just have some gratitude if people actually invest that 5 to 10 seconds just to shit on you because they can absolutely just walk past, leave you in the dust, you know. But
they took the effort.
100%. It takes as much time to say good job as you suck.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like, thank you to actually be bothered enough to say that I suck and you know just it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, before I end here tonight, I want to tell everyone in our audience, we now have a bottoms up perspective group, and feel free to ask to join. You know, we have some ground rules there. We want people that are authentic, people who are truly in the game to engage, who will dedicate themselves to at least posting once a day on social media. And we're just going to be in this group supporting each other organically. And you're welcome to any questions you have for any of these guys, right? Even past speakers, we're adding them into the group. The whole goal of this is just to be able to communicate each other, share our thoughts. If you're struggling with a job or whatever, hey, if we can help, we're going to refer you, you know, even across this overseas, right? If you're in Asia, if, you know, in China, Singapore, I'm sure Jeremey and Aldric has connections out there. If you want to do business out there, right? As long as it's not multi-level marketing, those guys might be able to help you, you know? Join our group, and the whole idea is just to build a community that's completely transparent, that we can share. And hey, maybe we can have you as a guest on the show. And next week, you know, for episode 9, we could talk about taking action, you know, and it's very general, and we'll tell you more. You know, join our group and we'll tell you more. But to end tonight, I think I want to end it with Jake since he's our guest. What's the best advice you can give to all the dreamers out there who's in the current career right now?
Go follow Jake Shirk on LinkedIn and hit me up on YouTube and go ahead and hit subscribe. That'd be great. I think the best thing that you can do is support the community that supports you. There are a lot of people out there that are trying. There's a lot of people out there that are doing it well. Learn from them, and you know, be gracious in what you're trying to do, and don't worry about switching things up and being different from time to time. Just find your voice, however long that takes, and be authentic with yourself. Chase the things that you want to chase. Like we said, nobody else is filling your pockets. It's all about what you want to get done and how you feel about how you should do it.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you for everyone hopping on tonight. Have a good night. And if you miss us, hop into the group later.
Great to meet you, Jake.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good to meet you, Jake.
Have a good day.
Bye.